What's up, guys? Iceman here. So this story is one of the most chilling and inspiring grizzly bear attacks that I've told on this channel yet. So I hope that you watch it through the end. But before I get into it, I'd like to thank you guys for all your support on this channel. And if you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And if you want to support me further, you can become a channel member or a patron. Links in the description below. And blessings to my channel members and patrons. So let's get into this chilling tale. We have nothing to lose and a world to see. Words from the beautiful, vibrant Amy Anderson, who even still, up until that treacherous moment, had her whole life ahead of her. At the young age of 48, the great sow grizzly mauled her body, leaving her mangled carcass near the trailhead, cuts and abrasions all throughout, laying on the ground her lifeless carcass. In only her hiking shorts and tank top, the discovery of her body was festering. The greater Yellowstone area was home to at least 1,060 grizzly bears in 2021. This is a massive increase over the dwindling population of the 70s, before the huge omnivores were protected under the Federal Endangered Species Act. Birth rates in the area have remained roughly consistent since 1996, which indicates to biologists that the population size has grown up to the amount that the environment can support. In 2016, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service proposed delisting the grizzly bear due to population increases, and it is now classified as threatened. Grizzlies have a surprisingly varied diet, and cubs spend a couple years with their mothers, learning to forage and hunt. They dig for fleshy roots, graze on grasses and herbs, and pluck berries off shrubs and trees. Although they possess an elongated digestive tract, they cannot effectively digest tough plant materials like cellulose, so they prioritize tender new vegetative growth, which contains more bioavailable nutrients. They are talented fishers, preferring salmon, and are proficient at hunting both ground mammals like squirrels and larger, hooved ruminants like deer and elk. During the greater Yellowstone summers, there are abundant food choices for hungry bears. Wild strawberries are ripe, and cutthroat trout are spawning. Even army cutworm moths can serve as a nutrient-dense and easy forage. Wolf-killed carcasses of deer can be taken by intimidation or scavenged for leftovers. July is a popular time for humans in Yellowstone as well. Almost all the snow has melted, and most trails and areas of the park are fully accessible. Wildlife and plant life is abundant, and there is much to see. There are over 1,000 miles of trails, and taking a hike is one of the best ways to see the park and avoid the tourist crowds. Amy was an experienced hiker and backpacker, having walked over 2,000 miles across the United States in 2015. The thing about Amy is that her life was whole, and she was free. In her later years, she freed herself from the trappings of institutions that had constricted her in her former position, leaving her teaching job to seek life rather than death. And life she found by losing it. The chains that held her down, chains similar to those that held her students down in the classroom that she wished she could free them from as well, demanding them to sit and be still in a cold, pragmatic classroom and not be out to tend to the wonderful gardens of life, gardens that required moving and thriving, the very movement and thriving that she ultimately had to seek on her own, without bringing the helpless, impressionable children along, as much as she wanted to set them free as well. The powers of this world were too great. The education system and the grinds of modern life that many mothers and fathers have become subject to, causing them to send their children to the supposed institutions of educating and teaching, were all too great for herself to conquer for everyone. But she could choose freedom in life for herself. Her nimble body was found not far from the trailhead, mangled and destroyed. Her thin, athletic stature stood no chance against such a dominant force of nature. The massive sow most likely considered Amy a threat to her or her cubs, perhaps surprised by the woman while trying to cross the trail, and the bear did what her nature demanded of her, to prevent and neutralize any potential threat to her beloved cubs, even if those supposed threats weren't really threats at all. It's the sad truth of this fallen world, where death creeps in, breaks through, and destroys. But Amy died doing what she loved to do. Even her own mother, not long after the day of Amy's passing, so eloquently put it, "God is so good. He took her by nature, not by any evil deed, bad accident, or bad illness." Mrs. Adamson told the news outlet, "He took her where she was out doing what she loved, and that gives us comfort." Amy had no pepper spray on her person, no deterrent recommended by the wildlife experts in the Great Yellowstone area. Her body was found on July 22, 2023, in a wooded area near the town of West Yellowstone, Montana. Her mother claimed she was an avid hiker and marathon runner who died doing what she loved doing best. A qualified English teacher who decided to leave the classroom in 2015 to backpack across the U.S., even writing a book about her adventures titled Walking Out. Traps were set for the bear, but to this day, it still has not been found. It likely ventured back into the vast expanse of Greater Yellowstone. It happened near a campground, and officials stated that the bear will be either killed or relocated if found. Amy's book is still available for sale on Amazon, and here's what it has to say about Amy's life. In February of 2015, two-decade English teacher Amy Adamson left her job, put her entire household in storage, and drove to the East Coast to embark on a 2,200-mile backpacking trip across the United States. Burned out and frustrated by the public education system, a system which finds increasing numbers of teachers profoundly unhappy, she basked in the restorative task of hiking all day, gradually wending her way west and penning her daily thoughts on seeing America at walking speed. Walking Out is her reflections of this hike, how far she went that day, what she thought about, things that happened, and what it was like walking halfway across America as a woman alone. Interspersed among her backpacking journal are her long-form essays about teaching English in the modern public schools. Looking askance in the public education system, her thoughts lend insight into why so many teachers leave this profession or want to, combining humor and inner reflection about things for which we all search: contentment, joy, peace. She writes about the goodness of people she met along the way and the serenity that's achievable one step at a time and in a relative state of privation, such as walking from Delaware coast to central Kansas with all of one's possessions in a backpack. Walking Out is a meditation on why moving our bodies and taking on physical challenges feels so good. Her journey revives the notion that people are mostly kind and that America is safe. Walking Out is for the hiker, the endurance athlete, the teacher needing catharsis or a deep belly laugh, and anyone who has longed to leave real life behind for a while and strike out on an adventure. So that's basically what Amazon has to say about this book that she still has for sale on the site, which I will link in the description of this video. To me, from what I've read of Amy thus far, she's really been an inspiration to get out and move, because it's what we were meant to do. I haven't read her book, but I'm sure she makes all sorts of valid points, maybe touching on how kids are just sitting all day on their butts when they're supposed to be out growing and experiencing life. After writing this out and making this video, I've actually decided to go on a slightly longer walk today out in nature. And what a great thing that she did what she loved, and she even died while doing it. Perhaps the mother sow grizzly gave her a swift death, which I think is quite evident from the amount of blood she lost from the attack, which ended up being her cause of death. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about the situation with Amy Adamson? How chilling of a tale this is, but yet how inspiring. I'd appreciate it if you comment below your thoughts on these matters, and like this video if you will, subscribe to this page for more Chilling Tales from the Iceman.